I'm going to say politely, I have traditional parents.
Okay.
So when I said I wanted to take a gap year to try and figure out the acting world, that was a no. I was stuck in retail. I think everybody can, you're doing the eyes, you understand. Those first couple of sessions were the most exhilarating / petrifying moments of my existence, my creative existence. London Bridge, I'll never forget this. I had a breakdown. It was one of those moments, that really sticks in your head that I kind of unraveled. At that age, I felt very lost. That January 2021, Amy! Where do we start?
So, welcome, Winnie.
Hi.
To Getting There with Amy Claire, the podcast. What I usually do with pretty much every guest is I just allow you to introduce yourself in your own words. So yeah, over to you.
Hello, everybody. My name is Winnie Arhin. I'm a writer, actress, founder of a theatre collective called The Writers' Corner, apple crumble lover. I think that is... I call myself a general creative.
Yeah, I can definitely see that. For the, I nearly said the guests listening, lol, the listeners or viewers, I've known you for, when did I meet you? It was a fair few years ago, I think.
I want to say...
Was it 2019?
I want to say 3-4 years ago.
Yeah, I think it was 2019, right?
I mean, COVID life blurs out years, but I'm going to say
It was
3-4 years
COVID,
ago.
so
It
yeah.
was.
Yeah, so, I basically had, some people know this, but a lot of people mightn't, when I had my 6 jobs at one time. One of the jobs, I think I met you through our teaching job.
Yes.
Yeah, so I haven't seen you in person for a few years now.
Yeah.
So I'm really looking forward to this catch up. It's going to be a lovely, in-depth catch up. So yeah, I've known Winnie. She is the definition of someone who just goes for it, which I absolutely love. And we're going to hear a bit more about that today and the ups and downs surrounding that as well. So yes, thank you for that nice introduction. Let's get started into your first event that you think made you who you are today.
Don't know why I'm doing a nervous giggle. I'm ready.
It's absolutely fine. So you said meeting Louise, your acting mentor, when you were about 22. She exposed you to the world of drama school and really guided you through an intense, overwhelming process. Okay, so just before that, you're going for drama school. Did you always know that's what you kind of wanted? Or what led to that, first of all?
Yes, in the shorts of it.
Okay.
I always knew I wanted to be an actor. Even before I knew what actor meant, I knew I wanted to be an actor.
Yeah.
I'm going to say politely, I have traditional parents.
Okay.
So when I said I wanted to take a gap year to try and figure out the acting world, that was a no. Go to university.
Yeah.
So I went to uni, and each year I was just simply like, I still want to act. I still want to act. I still want to act. I actually really enjoyed my course. And after I did media and English, and then after I graduated, I worked for a magazine company in Brixton, and that's where I met my acting mentor, who was working in a different department sector of that magazine / company. And I got speaking to her about what I want, and she had spoken about how she had done the drama school circuit, as I like to call it, and how if I ever needed help, I should holler at her. And it was one of those things, I feel like a lot of people say that, like, yeah, if you need help, I'm here for you. And then you ask, and then people disappear. And I found that she was one of those people that was like, I'm here for you, and I'm going to show up for you. And if you need me, I can be your bouncing wall thing. And yeah, I definitely think she helped put me on the path. And where I am now, I would not be here without her initially guiding me, because I was just lost. I have to admit, I'll be honest with you, I don't think I would have committed to applying and all of that jazz the way I did if it wasn't for her backing me.
Yeah. I think from all the different kind of people I've spoken to, not just on the podcast, but in general, when you talk about your kind of pathway, career or otherwise, like everyone needs that guidance. And sometimes that is our parents, right? But sometimes it's not. Sometimes it's a teacher. Sometimes it's a stranger that you meet. And I'm noticing that more and more, that sometimes we just need that person to kind of give us that motivation, to kind of give us perspective sometimes. So for you, Louise was that person.
100%. As I said, the acting world, specifically drama school audition life, was very new to me. I knew nothing. At that time, I did have friends that were in the acting world, but we were finding our ways together. And she was a person that was older, had literally done it, got the t-shirt and was like, let me help you and guide you through it. Even stuff like picking monologues for auditions, I had no clue what I was doing. No clue whatsoever. She was the one that said, why don't you look into this? How about this monologue? And even things like, I applied for Juilliard in New York. For people that know, that's a drama school in New York. And
that's a big one.
That was a big one. Yeah, that's what I mean. I had big dreams, still have big dreams.
We love that, yeah.
But I would say at that age, I felt very lost. I felt very, I was stuck in a very, 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 the magazine job was part-time, very part-time and voluntary as well. I was stuck in retail. I think everybody can, you're doing the eyes, you understand. I was stuck in retail 3-4 days a week, which was, I'm flashing back, I'm trying not to flash back now, was not the best, I'm going to say. It was not the best. It wasn't for me. It wasn't stimulating. I loved the people, but the job itself was just soul destroying, I'll be honest. And so, yeah, when she was like, I'm going to help you. And also I feel like she helped keep me accountable. If, you know, the deadline is here, I need to do this, I need to do that. She checked in, she helped film things, she helped me pick out things. And as I said, when I went to Juilliard, because their first round auditions are self-tapes. And the second round auditions, if you get through, they ask you to come to New York. And I was like, I don't know what the hell I'm doing. Go to New York? Like, I can't.
Did they ask you to come?
Yeah. They asked me to come. Yeah, I did go. And once again, she helped guide me through that. I used my savings. Oh gosh, flashback. I used my savings and I worked my, can we swear?
Yeah.
I worked my ass off to, when I tell you that grind, there are a few moments, not actually, quite a lot of moments in my life when you know you can go like, I worked day and night. Like, I sweated blood, you know, perspiration, all of it. Like I worked so hard every day to get that money to obviously pay for flights, accommodation, because they don't cover anything for you when they ask you to come out for a recall. So yeah, she helped me through that. I have to admit, I felt very, because I don't have, for example, family in the industry or who are well versed in it. And as I said, my friends, I felt like we were as lost as each other. I felt like she was one of those people that really educated me on how things go.
Yeah.
Like, for example, paying for drama school and stuff like that, like the auditions. I didn't know that was a thing. The personal statements, that was something that I was like, I like acting, thanks for having me. She was one that really helped me literally sometimes put words to that paper, but also creatively and as an actor, definitely was like a director, a mentor, a teacher, just all those things in one. I would not be here without Louise Bromby.
Shout out Louise.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. Oh,
Louise,
gosh.
if you're watching.
Yes.
I mean, it's a big compliment,
Yeah.
right? So you obviously said it's a very intense, overwhelming process, and even just your story from applying to Juilliard sounds like that. What other aspects of this process did you find that you almost kind of maybe questioned, like, you know, or maybe did you question? That's the right question I should be asking you. You said this is an intense, overwhelming process. So, and obviously you had that that person like Louise to guide you and to kind of help you and mentor you. Was there any part in this process for you that you were like, do you know what, I'm not sure, this is too much? Or did you and your mentality alongside, say, Louise's guidance kind of just keep you going?
I did a lot of drama school auditions, which I think a lot of actors can relate to. There were some that went really well, and I felt like I really clicked with the teachers and the company and the school. And there were others that made me think, what the bleepity bleep am I doing here? I definitely think that, especially when I was auditioning, I think things have gotten a lot better now, but when I was auditioning, I didn't see many black people, people of colour, and I'm going to say specifically to my experience, black people in the audition room. So that was definitely something that, when the first time I auditioned, like the first year I auditioned, that's not something I really was looking at. I was focusing on like just having the guts to go to the auditions and do my best and do those monologues. But definitely I think the second year, sometimes I was just a bit like, and also years later when looking back on it, there was that thing of like, I don't see many people that look like me in this audition room. And that was something that was a hard thing to digest. And I don't think I digested it at that point, if I'm being honest. I saw it, and then years later, I think I started to process it and figure out how that made me feel and what is it like when you look across the room and you don't see people that look like you.
Did any of that motivate you to go, I'm going to do this then? I'm going to be that person?
At that point, yes.
Okay.
I'll be honest, yes. There were times later where it did make me feel like a deer in headlights, like, what am I doing here?
Right.
But at that point, for sure, I was so determined to at least put my hat in the ring. What is that saying? Throw your hat in the ring, put your hat in the ring.
People come up with these sayings on this podcast, and I feel like I should know these, and I just don't.
It's one of them.
Yeah, you put yourself out there, essentially.
Put yourself
right?
out there,
Yeah.
because that was my thing. I felt for many years I didn't. And I really regretted that. I really, really regretted not going for that audition, not trying my best and reaching out to that casting director. The list is endless. I think I was in a job that I was very familiar with and safe.
The comfort zone.
In the comfort zone. So
Yeah.
I mean, shoulda, woulda, coulda. But I at that time, I was annoyed with myself because I was like, I spent years in a job that I don't give a Oh, I'm allowed to swear, aren't I?
Yeah.
I did.
You said arse last time, which was not a swear word in my vocab.
Yeah.
But fair enough. Yeah.
I spent years in a job that I didn't give a shit about. Yeah. And that at that time I was like, what am I doing here? What am I doing here?
Yeah. But you need to have, this is the thing. Have you, there's like an analogy, there's an actual term for this, and I again need to do my research more before these podcasts, but I just go with the flow of these podcasts, so I don't actually prep loads. It's basically, when this video goes up, I'll put it on the screen so people know what I'm on about, but it's essentially that if something is semi-shit, okay, you still stay in that comfort zone. It actually has to be shit enough for you to leave. If it's not shit enough, people stay and they stay in that comfort zone. And I've seen this with so many people. Oh no, but it could be worse, right? And I agree to some extent. I agree that, you know, we absolutely have to look at people who are in worse positions because that's how we can feel gratitude, right? But I feel like on the other side of that coin is that I won't actually try to fulfill my own potential because it could be worse. And I think that that's something that you have to really discover, and you get to that moment you're going, as you said, like, what am I doing? It's like, well, if it wasn't a shit, maybe you'd be like, I'm still in that limbo stage, right? So it has to reach a certain level, whether it's in a job, a relationship, or whatever it is, that you're like, this is ridiculous. Like, this isn't what I want my life to be. I now need to change. I need to take action because, and you see what I mean? It's like, if it's not shit enough, we just won't move. You get stuck in the mud, basically. And yeah, I remember learning about that term and going, oh wow, I can see that with myself in some situations, but I can definitely see it with other people as well. And I think it's so, like, it's such a huge moment that when you actually realize, like, right, I've got to that stage, which now you're saying, and yeah, what happened next then?
So, the first year of auditions, my mind's a bit foggy because I ain't 21 anymore, I'll be honest with you. And that was around the age 21, 22 when this was all happening.
Yeah.
The first year of auditions, I got some recalls. Some of them, most of them didn't work out. I did a lot of drama school auditions at a lot of schools, which a lot of actors, as I said, can relate to. And then the second year, or maybe was it the third year, I auditioned, because at that time I was auditioning for a 3-year acting course.
Right. And this was in Juilliard, right?
In Juilliard, in Juilliard they do 4 years.
Oh, I see.
Yeah. And then in the UK ones that I looked at, they were 3 years. And then a friend of mine, shout out Amy Bentley, love you. She put me onto a foundation acting course. She was like, have you heard about this? They do a bursary position. And I have to admit, I come from, I guess they, on the forms, you would say a low income household. And I'll be blunt, money was a huge issue and a huge struggle for me then, and still now, not gonna lie. And
I feel you.
Oof, cost of living really is a thing. And she was just like, look at the Rose Bruford Foundation course. They're doing bursary positions. Have a look. I told my acting mentor at the time, Louise, like, oh, there's this. She had helped me with monologues before. And I was like, there's certain monologues I'm going to use again for this audition. Auditioned for the bursary position. I didn't get it. I got the partial scholarship, not the full. Hold on. Yes, partial scholarship, not the full. And I had to admit, I couldn't afford it. And when I tell you, having to call the principal, and I could literally cry down the phone to her, not the plan. And I was like, I want this so badly. I can't. It's just not. When I tell you I worked every hour in retail I could, I was babysitting left, right and centre. I was trying so hard and it just wasn't, it wasn't clicking financially. And I even did crowdfunding and very grateful to my friends and family and random strangers that helped. It just wasn't enough. And I remember I have a huge thing, and to this day I stand by it. I don't believe that you should financially bankrupt yourself for any type of education.
Yeah.
I don't think that, or any type of opportunity, no matter how, like, oh, this could, or da-da-da-da. For me personally, financial stress can ruin an experience. So I don't want to enter something going, okay, I owe a bank 10K.
Yeah.
Like, for me, some people compartmentalize and be like, this is there, I'm cool. With me, I knew that if I did something like that, because I was looking at like career development loans, and with that, I'm not sure what it's like now, but at that time, they were like, yeah, you can get a career development loan, but as soon as you finish the course, you have to pay it back.
Yeah.
And I was like, what if I don't have an acting job? And I remember a woman on the phone saying to me, that's just how we work. And I was just like, what? So I remember saying to the principal, as I said, like, I can't afford it. Thank you so much. I really appreciate everything you're trying to do. And she was like, you know what? Let's hold your place till next year.
Okay.
I think she said, let's hold it for a couple of, she said, let's talk again next year and see where you are. That's what she said. Let's talk about it next year and see where we are. So a year went past, and then I saw that they were doing the full bursary auditions again for the course. And I went to it, no joke, on the platform, on the way, London Bridge, I'll never forget this, I had a breakdown.
Yeah.
I was on a platform in the middle, people just walking, going to work, and I cried to my friend, fun enough, her name is Amy, and I was just like, what the fuck am I doing here? Like, I did this before and it didn't work out. Like, why am I putting myself through this again? It was one of those moments, you know, that really sticks in your head, that I kind of unraveled. It was, and the thing is, I think it was one of those things, maybe I was holding it in. Then, because I was about to get on the train there, it would just sort of, the lid got opened up. I don't know. I can't really explain what happened to me on that platform to...
Did you, again, this is not me saying I know, it's a genuine question. Did you perhaps build this kind of meaning that this is my life, and if I don't get this time, it's almost over, and the kind of the kettle went off, if we call it, because I've noticed that, and I can kind of relate to this maybe in a different way, where having a goal is super important, I think, for anything, right? But when we put our meaning in terms of our value, our worth on, in this case, maybe an audition, or sometimes it's a job interview, or sometimes it's winning a football game, or whoever it is, whatever area of life they're in, it's really difficult then when that goes wrong, because we think that we've failed, and therefore, do you get what I'm saying? Like, as in, we almost rely on that specific event in order for, like, this is like a yes or no. That's it. My life is a yes or no, almost kind of.
I definitely think that it was one of those moments where I put so much pressure on myself to get this thing.
Yeah,
like, you almost had it last time. It slipped through your fingers. Yeah. This is what you want so badly. You prepared and worked so hard for this. And I think the fact that I had been offered a place before, and the fact that money was the thing that stopped me, really hurt. Like, it's different when you're like, I didn't get the job, I didn't get the role, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But to be like, yes, but you look at your bank account and you go, no. It was a really, really hard pill to swallow. It's got nothing to do with talent. It's got nothing to do with time or availability. It's because I didn't have the money.
Yeah, I know. I say there's a lot of people listening to this that can relate to that.
It hurts.
No, it does, because you're almost like, this is something that in a way is so simple to fix.
Yeah.
If I just had funds, and there's so much money in the world. Like, when I was at, I think it was my second, or actually it could have been first year of uni, I didn't have a lot of money at all. I was also supporting home at that point as well. And I was already working and stuff like that. But I actually ended up going to this, almost like this type of counselling thing for, it was a part of the students' union, because they had to see my accounts to see that I actually, because I couldn't afford to go on, basically. And I totally get this, what I'm trying to say in terms of relating to you, because I'm like, it's not that I'm not able, like, I'm super engaged, I'm trying, I'm working. And they actually said, yeah, you can't afford this. We recommend you drop out and join when you can. So a bit like what you said, we'll review again next year. So when you said that, I was like, oh my God, hence I'm sharing this now, which, because, and I remember thinking, like, that moment going, this is just money. Do you know what I mean? This is ridiculous.
And I think the thing that like, one of the most simplest statements in the world, which was said by a 3-year-old and said by a 33-year-old, it's not fair.
Yeah, life isn't fair. And I think I think that was one of the big lessons I had to learn. Because
I hear you.
Going into life and you think, okay, the world isn't created for us. It's there for us in terms of, like, we can seize as much opportunity as we can from it. But the thing that I think you get past a certain age, or it's different for each person, I'm sure, life is not fair. And this is when people, including me, especially when I was younger, when things go wrong, I reacted quite badly to it. Because I'm thinking, who's out to get me? Do you know what I mean? How come that person has this? But actually now I'm like, no, life isn't fair. But if we go in with that mentality, for me, I actually do better. Because when things, I get rejected, things like that, from multiple things across my life. And it's like, oh, okay, yeah, but that's not just me. This is happening to everyone. And I think that, yeah, knowing that life isn't fair, but it doesn't mean that is going to be bad. Do you know what I mean? It's just like, I think that mentality for me personally completely altered my perception of what life is, my thinking, my motivation. With you, what happens? Obviously you're saying you had this breakdown on the platform. Hence my quick question, which is now probably been 10 minutes, but classic Amy. The reason is, number one, I just wanted to kind of share that because I feel I can relate to that kind of moment of, like, even when I was told you should drop out, thinking like, no.
It hurts.
Yeah. I mean, I had, because I just moved over country, I was like, there was no way I can do this.
Yeah.
So I ended up getting 4 jobs at one time. But anyway, that was
I
fine.
could definitely relate to that.
Yeah. I know you can.
Yeah.
That's the thing. So, but with you, what happened after that breakdown? Did you manage to go?
One of my best friends, Amy, gave me some tough love.
Yeah.
At that moment, and it's what I needed.
Yeah.
She literally said, "Get on the train. Get on the train." She was very patient with me at first, listening obviously to my sadness and my fears. And then there was a moment, as I said, she had to put the hammer down, and I needed it. Yeah. Because I think that everybody has those moments where they feel overwhelmed. They feel this thing of like, you literally feel like you can't breathe for a moment. And I think that those moments in life are unavoidable. I do think that don't let them ruin an incredible opportunity, or don't let fear paralyze you to the point where you miss an opportunity. You don't physically get on the train.
I
which
think
is what happened then.
A lot of people will experience this. I think myself included with some things. It's like the anxiety. Again, we can all relate to it, but it's almost, I don't want to face the rejection, that failure. Whereas if I don't try, at least I won't fail. But when I think you get past a certain stage, you realize actually not trying is failing.
100%.
Right?
100%. I also don't think, and I realised I did this a lot in my 20s, it's a work in progress. I'm getting better at it for sure. But this whole thing of, I'm not even going to apply because I'm not good enough, and the excuses could be literally a 50-page situation.
Yeah.
But it is I don't even like the word failure, but I'm going to use it in this sentence. It is a failure if you don't even apply.
Yeah.
If you don't even put in that application, if you don't even go to that audition, if you don't even call to inquire about A, B, C, D, you're not even getting the ball rolling. And that is a really, really sad thing to do to yourself. I mean, some people, self-sabotage. Some people, as I said, like fear, anxiety and whatnot, literally paralyzes them and keeps them frozen.
But then that paralyzes your opportunity.
Exactly. And I don't think it's an easy thing to get through. And I'm not going to lie, my 20s was full of those moments. It's definitely gotten better now, but it still happens every now and again.
Of course.
But yeah, I got on the train, I auditioned, and I remember doing the piece that I auditioned before with. It's one of my favourite pieces. I absolutely love it. A specific monologue, I should say. And I remember having a conversation with the panel afterwards. They always have a bit of a conversation. And I remember performing and having the conversation and just being so relaxed.
Nice.
I feel like, when you shake a can of fizzy, and then you open up the lid and everything just everywhere. And at the bottom of that can or bottle or whatever, there's just like that fizzy is left and it's just chilled. It's no longer flying everywhere. It's no longer gonna, cause a sound. It's just, I felt like that was me in the audition. I had let out on the platform, and I walked into the audition being like, you know what? And I don't even think it was just a conscious thing.
Yeah.
But I think I was like, I've done all I can.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, I've prepared my lines. I have done research on the school. I've even been here before. Do you know what I mean? Like, what else can you do? Yeah. And we had a very frank conversation about money, which is a huge trigger for me. I feel very uncomfortable talking about money. Yeah. But being a freelancer, you have to learn how to open up your mouth and say something. And we had an honest conversation. She was like, before you weren't able to afford it, what's going on now? If you weren't to get the bursary position and stuff like that. And I was like, I crowdfunded a bit of the money. It's definitely not enough to cover the course. This is the situation I'm in. A couple of weeks later, I got an email saying, you're in. You basically got the full bursary minus the money that you crowdfunded.
Okay, cool.
And it was one of those moments that, once again, I'm going to bring it back to Louise. Yeah. She started that train for me. She put me in that metaphorical carriage. She, I was gonna say put the coal in the engine room, but that is old school. But
okay, we like a bit old school.
But like, I felt like I wanted to start that journey. I just didn't have the balls to. I'll be honest. And also, I don't think I had the education.
Yeah.
I think, as I said, I didn't have family that were of that world. I had some amazing, family members that were supportive, don't get me wrong, but in terms of really saying, like, why don't you look at this? Why don't you try this? They weren't well versed in the world of acting specifically
Oh, I completely
to
relate.
to be like, yo, look at this speech, look
Yeah.
at this play. Anyway, so I did it, and the course was what I call like the cherry on top for me in terms of education, acting education, performance education. I always wanted to do the 3-year course. That was what I was set on. And then I did the foundation course, and then I went, actually, I don't think the 3-year course is what I need. I feel like this course, let me rewind it. I always think that as a creative, as a performer, whether you're a dancer or whatever, you should have some type of education. Whether it's a formal thing of you go to a class, whether it's a thing of, for example, during the lockdown, I did online self-tape courses, an online self-tape course, whether it's you watch 20 hours of films every month to educate yourself. I think that you always need to find a way to learn.
So it doesn't, you don't mean like have this big formal education, you just mean an element of, it's guidance, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I said it can be self-guidance. As I said, you make sure that you go to the cinema once a week to watch these actors do their thing and you learn something.
Yeah.
Whether it's you watch actors roundtables on YouTube and you make notes about, what this actor is saying, what this director is saying, etc., etc., etc. But yeah, I basically was like, I had this idea of this 3-year course. This is where I need to go down. And then I did the foundation course, and I went, oh, I feel this is my formal education that I was craving. I don't know why I'm doing that. It was formal education that I was craving. And then I did that. And then I got signed by an agent a couple of months after I graduated from that course. And I said, I'm going to rewind it back to Louise. She helped me start that journey. She helped me build that confidence to, as I said, throw my hat in the ring.
Yeah.
Along with my friend Amy, who was also a great, kind, guiding voice in that as well. Yeah.
So you've now at this point, right, you've got in, you can, I mean, in terms of, you said, if we go back to the first point, your intense, overwhelming process, you can just see it kind of encompasses, it was a total roller coaster, right?
100%.
In your second event, you said that you had improvisation classes, which led to you writing your own work. You got into Soho Writers Lab. I remember when you put that up, that was really cool. And you put your own work in at the, is it the Pleasance? Is it the...
The Pleasance.
Sorry.
Yes.
Sorry.
It's okay.
Falls Theatre, which I remember seeing you.
Yes.
And Brixton House Theatre. So tell me about that transition. So you've got in. How did that lead to you going, right, I'm going to do my own thing?
So after I graduated from the Rose Bruford course, I had probably maybe 2 years of like, I had some acting jobs through my agent, but it was quiet.
Yeah.
It was quiet. When I tell you I was the girl refreshing my emails every morning, calling my agent like, should I learn another language? Should I learn a type of instrument? Like, what should I do? How can I like? And I definitely was panicked that I wasn't getting a lot of acting work. I also think I had a thing where I wrapped up a lot of my personal value into whether I had an acting job or not.
This is a bit like what we spoke about earlier, right? Is like your value and your kind of meaning is like, if I succeed in this.
Yes. Yeah.
Which a lot of people can relate to.
That's a very, very hard thing to do to yourself, especially in an industry like acting, where there's 2% of actors are full-time actors, like actually earn a living 100% through acting. That is 2%. What about the other 98%? And yeah, I was really, really crushed by the fact that I wasn't working that much, and I was back in working in retail and stuff like that. And I wanted to do some type of acting class. And once again, unfortunately, money was an issue. I was like, I couldn't afford some of the classes that I wanted. And I found this improvisation class. It's something new that I wanted to try. Sounded interesting when I read the little bio on the website. And I thought, I've never done anything like this, push myself out of my comfort zone, why not? And I'll never forget the first class. Really, it's funny, improvisation, it says it in the title, but going into the class and being like, oh, where's the script? And then being like, honey, there ain't no script. It was petrifying, absolutely petrifying. And those first couple of sessions were the most exhilarating / petrifying moments of my existence, my creative existence. Like being put on, it wasn't even a stage, it was a room, a very well lit room with lovely people who were very open. By being put in a situation where the script, which is what I feel like at that point, like as an actor, my script was so important.
Was it a comfort blanket for you?
Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely. I relied on the lines. I relied on a writer creating this character story for me, and I am the actor that will bring obviously that story to life. And then to sort of be doing all of those things also with 2 seconds notice. So for example, in improvisation classes, again, an exercise we would do is my director, I guess you could say, of the class, teacher of the class would say, I'm going to give you a word. You're going to create a scene from that word.
Really?
You have 5 seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go. And even things like when we started with that improvisation class, I started to perform with them in small theatres in London and performing to an audience, where one of the exercises we did was a member of the audience would say a word. A member of the audience could give us an object, literally a physical object, and we have to create an improv around that. And it first of all made me realise my love for comedy. I always knew I loved it. And I remember in Rose Bruford, one of my mentors saying, try it out. I really think you should. And I was like, I'm going to be into drama. I am going to be and then I touched into comedy when doing improvisation. I was like, oh, I like this. And then what happened with improvisation, which I didn't expect, was I started to obviously create these characters that I've always wanted to play and I've never had the chance to.
Yeah.
I found that I wasn't getting that many auditions, as I said. And some of the auditions that I was getting, I was feeling like I was getting pigeonholed in the types of characters I was playing. I think being young, I think being black, I think being a woman, I think, I felt like I wasn't getting to explore the characters, or should I say the diverse amount of characters that I would have liked to. And then improvisation allowed me to do that. Within 1 hour of a show, I would explore 7 characters, and it was incredible.
So for you, improv opened that gate for kind of new exploration.
100%. 100%. Characters I dreamed of playing, I got to play. And I got to actually decide the words coming out of my mouth, how I would present that character, how I would walk, how I would talk, all these things. And then that led me to being like, you know what? I think I'm going to write my own stuff. For a long time, I didn't think it was possible because I didn't do a professional writing course, or I didn't do a creative writing. And that made me go, you know what? I've created some characters that I really love here. Let me put that down on paper. And then some of those characters, I was like, oh, I like that. And then I applied for the Soho Writers Lab, which, for people that don't know, is a course run by Soho Theatre where they take a bunch of writers, they take them through a 3-draft process, and you create a play with them. And you basically have like dramaturgy, where you have somebody who has that background in theatre and writing scripts guide you, and you have workshops with them. And so the first time I applied, I didn't get in, devastated. Absolutely devastated. I wanted it so badly. And then the second time round, I got in, and I will never forget that moment. I was in Crouch End, North London. I was walking to, I worked in a nursery at that point. I think I was walking towards my nursery job, and I checked my email, And that moment on the side of the street, I stopped and my face just froze. And to the point where somebody came up to me and was like, oh my gosh, are you okay? And I was like, yeah, I've just got such good news. I'm just catching my breath. And they're like, oh, congratulations.
It's refreshing for people because most people might think,
Yeah.
oh, she's got bad news. But yeah, you forget that you can literally freeze from good news too.
Kindness of strangers. Thank you for that random person checking on me. But yeah, and so yeah, from improvisation classes, it gave me the power and confidence to start writing and creating my own work and creating characters that I've always wanted to play.
Like what?
I always wanted to play. I had a thing of I wanted to show different facets, is the word, or elements of. I felt like, especially around that time, there were certain roles that kept being shown in the mainstream for black women.
Okay.
And me and my cousin would make a joke about this. It's not the best joke, but we'd be like, oh, did you get cast as baby mother number 4 today?
Oh my days.
Like, it was a real thing.
Yeah,
Or like,
yeah.
mouthy black girl at the back of the classroom. Or there was the whole thing of, best friend to the main character who is this like English Rose. And you're just like, I don't see myself, or the different elements of myself and how, as a black woman, we're not just these very few boxes. There are so many boxes.
I think
us.
in different areas as well, though, like actors, even like really big ones now, have said something similar. Maybe not in the context of, okay.
They have done, yeah, it's
So
true.
even if you take Matthew McConaughey, right? Yeah, I know he's a white man, right? But he said that he kept being casted as the heartthrob, could not get any other role, right? And he's like, I just want to play something a bit more serious. Do you know what I mean? And I've seen it now with lots of different actors. Doesn't matter what race, religion, whatever background. They were just like, they tend to be like, once one kind of box forms, it's like, right, we'll keep going there.
Exactly.
And like he kept saying, it was heartthrob. He stopped acting for a bit. He said, this is just ridiculous. And then, I mean, there's a bit of the joke with Nicolas Cage that he keeps getting the same, right? So yeah, I think I've seen it now with a lot of actors. It's like, this is what we want you to play, but actually breaking into new
things.
Is what they really like. They strive in.
I definitely think that actors can all get typecast.
Yeah.
I think that when you add in race and gender, it adds other flavors and situations, I feel, and other types of constrictions. And yeah, the characters I wanted to play, for example, I wanted to play, and this is one of the characters I created in my improvisation, I wanted to play an older woman who was sexually exploring things in maybe not a traditional sense. I did want to play a young girl, but not as a short cameo, or she has just a couple of witty sentences and you don't hear from her. Like, you really hear.
But there's also like that challenge, right? It's like even the age thing is super interesting because like you want to be able to be positively challenged where you're like, look, I can prove that I can do something. It's like, I'm not, okay, just because I'm a young black woman doesn't mean I have to necessarily play a young black woman. It's like, okay, that's what the creative industry is for, right? It's like, let me be tested, let me prove myself. And that's, you see it across some films, people just, I mean, there's some, you have it's Eddie Redmayne in The Danish Girl and stuff like that. I mean, but even though some people look at that and go, wow, I'm sure from Eddie's perspective, that was a completely new type of challenge and actually something that could be quite fun, but also very a big part of his development in terms of acting career. So you wanted to play this older woman, and you said she's exploring her sexuality, is it? Yeah. Okay,
yes,
cool.
Yes.
Okay, yeah.
And these are just some of the characters. There's so many. I had so many that I wanted to play. These are just the ones that were at the forefront of my mind. And then that's what made me create my debut play, Big Girl Words.
That's the one I saw, right?
That is the one that you saw at the Vault Festival,
yeah.
yes. And with that play, I injected a lot of my life, which was not the plan.
Okay.
That my life leaked into the play, which was that the play is about this young writer performer who's trying to break into the theatre world, and the idea of when you're green and new, how do you navigate the theatre world when there's microaggressions, when you have family obligations, when you have this passion and drive, but things aren't happening the way that you would like? And also, how much of your moral compass do you compromise to get to where you want to get to? I think social media makes it seem easier to like, yeah, drag that person. Yeah, it doesn't matter. Go da-da-da-da. Yeah, let's boycott. Da-da-da. And don't get me wrong, calling people out on their SHITTY behaviour is important, and their problematic behaviour is important. I do think there's another level where it's just like, as I said, when you're new and green and also still trying to figure stuff out for yourself, it's hard to call people out when you're not sure how the words can even come out of your mouth.
Yeah.
Especially when they are a person of power and there's a hierarchy and you're at the bottom and they're at the top. I think in an ideal world, of course, you would like to sit down. There's HR, there's, everybody has a reasonable conversation, everybody understands everybody's viewpoints, and then you move on. But in the real world that we live in, it's not as simple as that. So that's something that I explored in my play, and while doing Big Girl Words, as I said, which is something that I wrote and performed in, I started to get into theatre spaces that I'm not gonna lie, I didn't even really think would happen like that. I had a certain idea of like, my agent would call me and say like, you have an audition for blah, 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 blah. I never thought that I would be applying with my own work to be put, like, it was just not something that I thought was going to be a part of my journey at all.
Life is one big improv session, right?
Oh, yeah.
Do you find that from doing that improv that it made you more resilient?
Definitely.
How?
I think it made me more flexible in how my journey looked and was going to flow out.
Okay.
I think literally being able to put down a script and go with the flow of, with improv, you're performing with other people. You don't know what's going to come out of their mouth. You have to roll with it. You have to.
Yeah.
You can't go, stop the scene. You made a political reference. I don't understand that. Can we Google that? You can't do that.
It forces you to just get on with it, right?
It forces you to get on with it. It forces you to get out of your comfort zone. And I think it forces you to have a different type of awareness and education and self-regulation. Because when there is no script, you're in a scene with somebody, for example, where you have to be aware not to hog that limelight, not to hog that space, not to like give a chance for, if you ask a question, give a chance to really hear the response.
Yeah.
And also the response isn't written, so you don't know what they're going to say. And you have to really react to that in real time. So yeah, improvisation just opened up all these doors for me. Definitely. And writing was that number one thing. With writing came a type of creative control and exploration that I just never thought would be a thing for me.
I think you smashed it.
Thank you.
I thought it was really, really good. It's very
Thank you
admirable.
very
I
much.
love seeing people get on with it.
Thank you.
And like, especially with the quality of it as well. And I think the fact you did inject parts of your own story into that in an expressive, positive way, generally, I think was food for thought. But I thought it was very engaging. I was really happy to see the audience cheer you on as well.
Thank you. Thank you.
So yeah, no, fair play.
Thank you for coming.
I absolutely loved it. I like supporting people in general, but especially when I think that they deserve that support. Because I think from me speaking with you and in the when we were working in that teaching job, you hear the other side, and this is what this podcast is, right? It's not like you're just like, oh yeah, I just trying it and got there. It's like, no, it wasn't easy,
It was not.
Yeah.
It was not. And speaking of it's not easy, I'm going to do like a little side note. My Instagram, social media, I use it as my acting CV.
I love that, yeah.
And for some people, they're like, oh my gosh, like, and can I just say years of nothing, like nothing was happening for me. And now I'm really proud of the fact of like, as I said, my journey has changed in a way I didn't expect, but I'm proud of. And obviously there's still times I'm like, oh my gosh, like the phone ain't rang, or like, or I'm working on this script and I'm like, this isn't clicking, like but I feel like I have a real hand now in what I want to do and how I want it to come about. Yeah, social media is my acting CV, I guess you could say. And for some people that, oh my gosh, you're doing so well, and I'm like, oh, I appreciate that. However, it's not easy. Like,
Absolutely.
I think I'm personally not a person that, for example, if I have a difficult day or if I have an audition that didn't go well, I've had 2 auditions in the last 2 weeks that I didn't get. I'm not a person to put that on social media, but I still, if we're having a conversation like we are now, I'm going to be honest.
Yeah.
I'm not going to pretend it's like daffodils, rainbow and sparkles, or like I worked really hard for this audition and I didn't get it and I was effing devastated. Like, I'm not going to pretend like that. But I do think it's weird with social media how people will take that as Bible.
Oh, it's do you know what? This is literally the reason I'm doing this like YouTube channel, this podcast as a part of it. It's like when I graduated, everyone was getting grad jobs. I didn't even apply to a grad job because I knew I didn't want one. So I was like, I need to explore. I want to do Mazzy for a bit and all this. And I remember looking at Instagram, and because of the nature of people graduating, right, I've never seen so many people put up things about new job, new car, new house, and I was like, oh my God. And I remember going, you do feel that pressure.
100%.
But the thing is, it's like, I didn't feel like I'm a victim in it because I was like, everyone's going through this, right? But I was like, right, I'm logging out of Instagram. I logged out, I think, for about 2-3 months. The first time I've ever done that for that length, for that time. This was back in 2019. And oh my God, this perspective, suddenly I completely just didn't even have any interest in looking at Instagram. I remember going, oh, do you know what I'm craving now? I'm craving some decent, honest conversation. Because I'm keep seeing, and it's not that I wasn't happy for those people. I'm delighted when I see, okay, my friend's got a new man and it's healthy, or it's that person's bought a house, or that person's got a car, they've got a new job. Absolutely delighted for you. Like, I don't feel envious. I don't, in the sense of like, oh, I don't want you to get it.
Yeah.
Never feel like that. Unless they're someone who I don't particularly respect. In that case, I won't be following, right? But it was more like, I'm sure like everyone like relates to this. It's like, well, I'm not that level. I'm not there. So then I was like, okay, how can I, instead of me kind of going, oh, boo-hoo, poor me, I was like, what can I actually do? What's the problem? The problem is I'm not seeing enough reality. Like, what is actually going on? Okay, so what am I going to do about it? I'm going to create a podcast. And originally it was just conversation. I was like, we have good chats, but I thought, oh, why don't I record it so other people can listen? And this is what we're here today, because it's like, it's not saying everything everyone has to say is, oh, this is all the bad side. It's not like that, as we've discovered already. It's like this, when you got accepted, you were buzzing and all this. It's just like this fake kind of side of like, yes, we want to share things. For example, I'm going to be promoting this, of course, right? But a part of that journey is to also just encourage people to not overdo it with the achievements, because you know what? You have to then live up to that achievement, your own. You see it with celebrities, right? So for example, the Kardashians are the classic. They've created such high standards that they cannot fall beneath it, or else it's the end of the world. And I was like, I never want to get to that. So I think being honest and putting yourself out there, you don't have to, I feel like people don't have to go, oh, I've lost my job, I've done this, I'm going through a breakup, all this. You don't have to say that. It's just like to not constantly spam, because what I think people do, I mean, feel free to dispute this, but what I've seen in my own kind of discovery in terms of social media is people who really spam in terms of the more superficial things, you know, like nights out and all that kind of stuff. They tend to do that, not all the time, but they tend to do that when they are craving the validation. They're going through, I've noticed this even from my own friends and stuff, and it's not just them, it's everyone. I've done it. Guilty.
We've all done it, let's be honest now. We've all done it in some type of way, shape or form.
Yeah, like let me post, and it's not saying all the time. It's not saying that you can't share good things, or it's not saying that every time you do share a pic of you looking good that you're going through something. That's not what I think. It's just more, I personally crave a little bit more honesty. And honesty is not just the bad times, there's the good times as well. And I was just getting sucked into it, like, and I just thought, I can't. So I don't really use social media too often anymore. I'm a bit like what you're doing now. I'm going to be using my platform as more of like a business tool. And I think that way it's good. But yeah, anyway, I mean, I digress. In terms of social media, it's just when you said that, it kind of, yeah, I just thought I'd bring that topic up. In terms of, obviously there was lots of turbulence, as we've discussed, as we all have in life. Speaking of more turbulence, the third event, first and second lockdown, pushed you to create your own company, work on real life work balance, not putting all your value in whether you're working or not. You realised how resilient you were.
Yes.
Okay, I love this. I'm already totally intrigued. Over to you. Tell me all about it.
Where do we start? Lockdown life was different for a lot of people. For me, it was one of the hardest times of my life.
Yeah.
I was quarantining and isolating with my mum and my sister. My sister's severely autistic. And for people that don't know, with autism, routine is crucial.
Yes.
Crucial. And my sister's routine of 30 odd years had been blown to smithereens. And there was only two people that she could take her frustrations out on. And that was me and my mother. So lockdown was turbulent is not even the right, there's so many words I could use, but really hard, really hard. So I'd lost all my acting work. The acting world stopped. Life outside people's houses stopped.
And there was no furlough for actors.
There was no furlough for actors. Like, it was just, it was petrifying. And up until that point, I had been working, I think it was 5 jobs non-stop. You know, every day I was just, my mind was split because I was doing different things. And the grind was hard. It was really hard. And I didn't enjoy my life, if I'm being honest with you. But it was something that, like, I was aware I wasn't enjoying it, but I didn't know how to break out of it, which was really confusing.
You feel trapped?
I felt very trapped. And you've done something for so long. How do you change course? I just didn't know. And then with COVID, it forced me to, I didn't have nothing. I didn't have nothing. I was tutoring online. That was it. Right. I was a part of a writing course, so a writer's lab. We had basically finished our final draft in the first lockdown. And I had a horrendous breakup that just, with my long-term partner at that time, which just meant my head was spinning. My severely autistic sister it was very difficult helping my mum look after her. My mum has sickle cell, so she was isolating, we were isolating, and I was very aware of making sure she was okay. My money was like 0.
Everything just came at once for you.
Everything just came at once.
Yeah.
And then there was this moment where, as I said, I was heartbroken. My bank account hated me. My sister was not very positive energy in the house. That's my polite way of saying it. And I had this final draft for Soho Theatre Writers Lab. I had worked so hard to get onto this course. I'm supposed to be writing a comedy drama. I don't know why I switched around then. And I did not find anything funny.
Yeah, it was a bit of a juxtaposition.
It was a juxtaposition to everything I was going through. And I was like, I don't want to laugh right now.
Yeah.
How am I going to finish this last draft? It was a simple thing of, how am I going to finish this last draft? Not a simple thing, but one question I had, I should say. And there was a moment where I had to check myself, where for a long time, and this is something I'm still working on, I have this thing of seeking reassurance from other people, specifically my close friends.
Okay, so
And
in like close group validation.
yes, for
Right.
sure. And during lockdown and life, yeah, I could call them and whatnot, but in terms of that face-to-face conversation, I couldn't have that.
Yeah.
So I was forced to kind of check myself more regularly. And there was a moment where I was like, I'm so down in every way, shape, or form. And I've got this very important deadline. It's not going to come again. Like, this is it. This is the end of the course. I can either succumb to all my sadness, or I can freaking open up my laptop and start typing. And it was like a switch for me where I flipped that switch and I was like, right, let's go.
Really?
Let's go. And it was a week. I remember I had basically 2 weeks to get it done. Well, I had, as I said, I had longer than that, but before that, I was in a not a good state. Yeah. But it got to like the 2 week mark, and I was like, I have no choice. But this is, and you know, there's a moment where you go, if I don't act now, I actually won't have the time to finish this off.
Yeah.
And you have to check yourself sometimes in those moments where, like, if I let this pass, there's no coming back from it. You know, I won't be able to say to them, can I do the course again next year? That's not how this works. So, yeah, I checked myself. I opened up my laptop and I threw myself into completing that final draft. And I did it. And I was so proud of myself.
Rightly so.
I'll be honest, I didn't know I had it in me. Especially, as I said, like my normal seeking reassurance and whatnot. I had amazing friends that were on the phone and obviously FaceTime, but that like face-to-face contact, which I so depended on and enjoyed and was so fulfilling as well and satisfying, I couldn't have.
Are you extroverted?
Yes, I am. And I do love my alone time. I do love and I did Edinburgh Fringe this August, and I loved coming back after a show and just putting up a Netflix show by myself, cuddling up in bed in my onesie and just relaxing. Oh, I love it. But generally, yeah, I am an extrovert. So those types of things were like, wow, like that's not going to be here for a while. We don't know when things are going to come back.
Yeah, I think lockdown, I mean, obviously it was difficult for everyone, but I think for extroverts it was
a woe moment.
A test.
It was a woe moment.
Yeah.
And yeah, I realised my self-resilience in that you're not feeling good mentally. Your mental well-being is in the pan. And you found a way to get through it. I wasn't healed, I wouldn't say that. Or like everything's all of a sudden la-di-da, but I managed to put aside my sadness for something that was very important to me.
Yeah.
And I'd worked really hard to get to. Really hard.
Yeah.
Like, it was so important to me. And I didn't want my sadness or other people's behaviour and mistreatment of me to affect this very important life experience.
Where do you think... So, I mean, I love using life if you picture, like... Do you know in Greece you get these pillars? Mm-hmm. Do you know I picture like life, you have these different pillars. There's like health, relationship, family, friends, career, all this, right?
Yes.
So for you, some of these pillars had come down,
oh,
right?
They tumbled down. They were
Demolished.
pieces. Demolished.
Yeah.
100%.
So where do you think, I know you've said that you put your sadness aside and you channeled it, and that I actually find that was super admirable. I love hearing these kind of stories. Where do you think it came from though? Where do you think that, you know what, that perspective of going, if I don't do this now, because that has to come from something. What was it? Your previous experiences with resilience, or was it something deeper? Like, where do you think that moment of going, I'm going to do it? Because so many people don't. They will self-loathe. They'll go to bed. And I understand that, by the way. I'm not putting that down.
That too.
I do.
I've done it.
I've done it too. I have done
yeah.
it too. So I never want to betray that. Like, I haven't done that because I
Yeah.
have. But for you didn't do that this time, at this really fundamental time. But where do you think that motivation came from? Was it genuine panic that what if not? Or was it something deeper?
I think it was something deeper. I think it was a mix of all the worst things that could possibly happen, personally for me, happened. You know,
The only way was up.
The only way was like, I was literally, you know, when you're like, you've been booted to the floor.
Yeah.
You're literally lying flat on your back, and you're looking up. That's the only place to go. Like, you're minus 100. There's everything. All your worst fears have come to life. You know, as I said, like, I lost all my acting work. The acting theatre world was shut, and they were like, we don't know when we're coming back. As I said, going through a horrible heartbreak with somebody that I thought I was going to be with forever. And my sister was really, really difficult. And it was just like all these horrible things happened at once. And I was like, you know what? Not that it's okay, but I'm going to survive. Like, just knowing I'm going to be all right.
Yeah.
Not now. I ain't going to be all right now. I'm just going to take some time.
Yeah.
But it's weird. Like, I think sometimes when you are so worried about something, the wait is worse than it actually happening.
Yeah, they build up even
The build up.
Yeah, it's that.
Definitely.
You know, when you're either waiting for audition, a job interview, whatever it is, it's the or you're on a first date. Right?
Yeah.
The waiting. Because that's the uncertainty, right?
Yeah.
That's the bit that we don't know, and people I think most people deal with uncertainty badly.
Yeah.
And that's normal.
It's
I suppose.
normal for sure. For sure. But I also think I have a great foundation.
Yeah. Sounds it.
And when we speak about like what do you think helped me? I think that was very helpful. Even though, you know, my family can be spicy as hell, I have a great foundation with my mum, my sister, my cousins.
Yeah.
I have great friends that back me 24/7. You know, I have passions and interests in my life that I care about.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that foundation of great friends and great family was very important to my survival during that time. My emotional survival, I should say.
Yeah.
And I think also working really hard and getting something you've always wanted and then going, okay, this can flop. Not because, you know, you caught COVID, for example, and you're in bed and you can't get up.
Yeah.
Not because, you know, your laptop's broken and you can't physically, because you are going to let your sadness, your fear, your anger, all these really difficult emotions take over. And I think sometimes, I'll be honest, sometimes I do understand why people are like, I couldn't see through it.
Yeah, no, I do too.
I couldn't see through. And that was me in January of 2020.
Before COVID.
No, after 2021, sorry. That January 2021. Amy!
God was testing.
Oh! It was, and I did let it take over. I think the adrenaline of like getting through my draft and applying for certain jobs. I think adrenaline, as I said, all of these things, I did it. Then January, I crashed.
I was going to say the crash, yeah. And that's
crashed.
very normal.
I crashed. And that is when I actually met, I call her like my life being guru.
Life being.
Yeah.
That.
This PT/life coach who I actually went to school with and I hadn't spoken to in like 15 years. Okay. She runs a life coachy company, I'm going to say, along with a personal training company. And she was doing a thing over Instagram where she was like, I'm willing to give a free, like 3 month, I think it was, sessions for somebody. If you want to apply, put your name into this, what's called, comment on this post with your name and 2 things you want to achieve. I applied and she put it, fun enough, in a virtual like lottery, and she picked out my name.
Nice.
And
so the light.
Yeah. And I'll never forget this. She did her first initial talk with me was we did a bit of yoga together over Zoom because it was during the second lockdown. And I was in the dark. It was like 7 a.m, 8 a.m. in the dark, January, and my sister, if I switched on my light, she would have started up with her spicy behavior. And I was like, I really just want to do this meeting and not have to like
to
be
have it
interrupted. Yeah. And I remember her being like, I was talking and and she was just like, "You're not okay, are you?" And I was like, "What?"
So that was the prod.
She was just like, "You're," because we were speaking about well-being and whatnot.
Yeah.
And I didn't even realise I put on this fake like, I'm fine.
Yeah.
I'm all good. I'm in the dark at like 7 a.m. doing yoga with a tiny, tiny light in the corner of my room. And she was just like, "You're not okay, are you? Like, let's talk." I was like, damn, you really going to read me like that? You're going to expose me and just say it like that? But it was what I needed.
Yeah. Was that very, very daunting for you then?
100%.
Yeah.
I think as I said, the crash was a real crash for me. I think the pain of the first lockdown and the second lockdown in January of 2021, 2020?
2020 and 2021.
Thank you. Was just, it was an overwhelming time and I wasn't in a good place. But joining that program and her, for example, setting, 2-3 workouts a week for me to do at home. You know, a couple of reflective tasks like what are 5 things that you're proud that you've achieved, what are 5 things you are proud of? What are 3 achievements that you are happy that you completed? Do you like just those types of reflective tasks that she started to set? It changed me. And I'll be honest with you, if you had told me 5-6 years ago, you know, life coach, I would have said, "Oh, that's a way for people to steal your money.
Yeah. Okay.
That you could don't do that. Don't." I now 100% get it.
Oh, I love it.
I get it. Yeah. And I do think it's not for everybody, but I do think that type of guidance everybody and anybody can benefit from. I just think you need to find the right person.
This is it. I think
and the right tools.
There's some people I know that like therapy is not for me. And because therapy, when I say therapy, it doesn't mean therapy is because you've got raging mental health problems. Think of it like a life coach. That's how I kind of see it. It's someone to talk to, right? Simple as. But your first, second, even third may not be the correct one for you.
Yeah, 100%.
So I think people have to give it a bit more of a chance. But if I could run, I have no interest in doing this, by the way, I must put that out there. If I could run the world, I would do the way everyone has to sign up for a GP.
Yes.
Everyone would sign up for a therapist.
Yes,
everyone.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree.
And kids
I
would do
agree.
it from literally 5 years of age. They, you know, but it sounds like, so for you, this was that kind of light that you needed.
100%.
And you were able to reflect. Now the spotlight was on you all of a sudden, right?
Yes.
And you were used to spotlight in a different way.
Yes, in a very different way.
But that was the external, now it's on the internal. So how now, looking back, how has that helped you? How have your personal growth occurred since then?
Because of my well-being guru, as I like to call her, because of COVID and life, number one, it pushed me to create my theatre company. My well-being guru said, it's lockdown 2. You want to do something creative. What are you going to do about that? What are you going to do?
Action, right?
And I was like, oh, I guess I could run a scratch night. And for people that don't know what that is, that's basically where writers get to test out material through performers bringing their words to life on stage. Obviously, during lockdown 2, it was over Zoom.
Yeah, I remember it.
Thank you for coming. You did come to mind, remember. And she said, what are you going to do? And I was like, oh, okay, I've got a game plan now. I think, as I said, that whole period in my life pushed me. And also during that time, how can I forget this? I did a course called You Make It, which helps women get into different creative industries. But during that time, those workshops and all of those things helped me, along with all the other things I've just spoken about, helped me get true balance in my life and also helped me realise my core values.
Nice. I like that because
Yeah.
the values thing, I think, do you know when people, this sounds like a digression, but it's not, you know when people, and I hate to be morbid, but even when they're on their deathbeds, the biggest regret, I watched a video and a lady she is a nurse that works with people basically in like palliative care and stuff, and it was like, the biggest regret was for them not being their authentic self, which in turn meant not sticking to their actual true values. So that's actually really nice to hear that this was that kind of moment that almost maybe put you back in line with what those were.
Definitely. And don't get me wrong, it's a regular struggle to keep reminding myself of that and staying aligned to that. And you don't always stay aligned to that because life happens. You could get thrown curveballs. But it made me realise, for example, that like I don't want all my worth to be in acting.
Okay.
I don't want that. I don't want to judge my character and my value on whether I have a job or not. In any way, shape, whether it's acting, whether it's writing, whether it's, you know, I've been asked to give a speech at a president's, you know, or a prime minister's, like, all of those big accomplishments are amazing, don't get me wrong. However, I don't want it to be my be all and end all. And
that's quite profound, but very it was very necessary though.
It was a thing that it just clicked for me. It wasn't a quick click, but it was a click that when it happened, I was like, oh. And that's why things like, sometimes, you know, things may be hard financially, emotionally, whatever. But I will, for example, go take time out to see my friend who's just had a new baby. You know what I mean? Like, I may not feel like I deserve it because financially, acting-wise, but it's like, that's important to me, so I'm going to do it.
It's kind of injecting those positive moments in your life as well, right? Because things that give you positive perspective, I've noticed that as well. It's really, really important.
Yeah.
Because we can dig ourselves a hole. And I've done it. I've dug the hole, the self-loathing hole, the kind of why is this happening to me? And I'm pretty sure it'll happen again. But
it does.
But I think the hole will be won't be as deep.
It won't be as deep. Yeah. I definitely think, and I think also, as I said, realising my core values, realising the things that really helped me during those times of darkness, was really important. As I said, like, I think those dark moments or that turbulent time, you know, it's still a thing. It's not like, poof, it's gone out of my life.
Yeah, absolutely.
I do think, though, that, as I said, like, lockdown, my wellbeing coach, the course I did, and the acting mentor I actually got from that course, Kate, who is, when I tell you, she has helped me in so many different ways that I will don't ever think I'll be able to show her how much I appreciate her. But actually, rewind to what you said before, like, how did I get through certain things? I think I know I have these incredible women in my life who have been a guiding light for me. And there's no way I would be here without them. And it's my mum, it's my first acting coach, Louise, it's my acting coach now, Kate, it's my cousin, Michelle, my good friends, you know, Esther, Amy, like, Alice. I have these incredible women that have backed me and supported me. And I know when I fall, because everybody's going to fall.
Of course.
In different levels, obviously, you know, I know that they're going to be there to either, you know, rubbing my back to say it's okay, or sometimes go, girl, get it together. Get it together.
Yeah. I think you need a bit of a balance.
You do. I think it's very important, obviously, to have somebody that will hold your hand and give you those kind words, but also you need that person, and sometimes you need to be that person to yourself, to really check yourself and be firm.
The David Goggins in me is like, so Josh,
no, but that's the thing, you need that firm,
I do agree,
assertive oomph, and sometimes it's not pleasant.
It's not
pleasant. Nice. When a good friend or yourself, or when you hold that mirror against yourself and go, okay, I'm upset that ABC, what have I really done to help that situation?
Yeah.
Sometimes you don't want to face that question.
Because people don't want to be introspective, you see. It's that, like, it's everyone else. Sometimes, like, you know, if everyone else can't sort the issue out, then what can you do? That kind of mentality. Yeah. That leads me on to our final wrap-up question, which I ask all the guests. So it's actually one of the reasons that I kind of kickstarted this season 2. I kind of knew I was always going to do season 2, but this kind of really was that switch for me. I want you to picture yourself in 10 years' time, and that Winnie is sitting right here. And I now put the mic on Winnie in 10 years' time. She's either giving you some advice, she's commenting, what do you think she'd say?
Winnie, in 10 years' time, what would she say?
She's right there now. I've just put the mic on her and you're about to listen. What do you think she'd say?
Hold on, rewind. What does she think she'd say about who I am now? Would she?
It could be anything. It's sometimes people go, this is the advice my tenure in 10 years would give me. Sometimes it's like, it's a reflection of what's been going on. It's very different. I don't like to put too many words in people's mouths for this one because it's very personal. So yeah, if she was here, what do you think she'd say? It could be about the podcast. It could be about what your life is. It could be about a pathway that you're thinking of taking or not taking. It's very different. There's no right or wrong answer, by the way. It's very different for each person. So
I think one of the first things she would say is be kinder to yourself.
okay.
And it's okay that life hasn't flowed the way that you thought it would. And that's to do with relationships, whether romantic or friendship-wise, whether it's to do with work. Like, be kinder to yourself. And also, I think give yourself more... Don't be so self-critical. And I think another thing is don't be scared of the risk.
Love that.
I think that that's a thing that I've always been very aware of myself about. Like, I am a person that's like, let's make a solid plan and then execute that plan. And sometimes you just gotta, but I definitely think 10 years from Winnie in the future would be like, girl, sometimes, come on. It will turn out the way it's supposed to turn out.
Yeah.
I think also have faith in yourself, because sometimes the world can beat you down. Sometimes things don't happen the way that you would like them to. But it's not always your fault. It's not always, this is how it was supposed to be. And like, oh my diddums, what are we gonna...
Yeah.
The curveballs will sometimes be thrown. And it's okay to sit back and like, let me just digest and think about what this means.
Yeah.
And it's okay if you don't know the answer.
Yeah. The reason I ask everyone this is, number one, it's I started thinking of this and it got me on track. But number two, I learned about your values. People realise that when you think about what your older self would say, the answer is actually saying what we really think. It's like our true self is speaking there. None of this self-critical, what you've just said is exactly the true you, and that's in line with your values, and that's why I ask it, because I love hearing that. So yeah, no, thank you so much. Thank you for your honesty. Thank you for your I say theatrics in the best possible compliment, because I could totally tell you went to drama school and I absolutely love it. I love
Sorry,
it.
not sorry.
Oh no, do not be. I absolutely love it. It was great fun, an absolute pleasure. But yeah, I wish you all the best of luck.
Thank you for having me.
You're most welcome. If people want to follow you on Instagram, what is your Instagram? And I will pop it in. Well, I know what it is, but this is all part of the show, y'all.
Yes.
So we're gonna pop it in the description box as well, so people can follow
Amazing.
you. But if you want to just say it now.
On Instagram, I am Winnie, WINNIE _Arhin, ARHIN for November. And on Twitter, I am Winnie Arhin.
Lovely.
All together.
Fabulous. But yes, thank you so much again. I wish you the best of luck. I know you're going to smash it, especially with that resilience and outlook.
you.
So yeah, thank you so much.
Very much.